Oh, I think this is it. I think we're live. Hold on, let me make it smaller.
Okay.
Oh, is that not working? Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to be more?
This is good, right?
Yeah.
This is good. Okay, hello world.
Hello.
Here we are. I'm Carlina.
I'm Sophie. We are in our pajamas.
Yes, we're in our pajamas. Oh, I see someone joined. Okay,
oh,
cool. Great. Hi.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Anna. Yes, we are in our pajamas. We dressed up specially for this reading.
They're kind of matching.
They are kind of matching.
Yeah.
We have the same collars. Oh, Erin says heart face. It's working. Okay, great.
Awesome.
Great. So happy New Year. We're really excited because we just this is our first time seeing each other in the new year.
Yeah, we've been apart for three weeks for Christmas break,
which is a lot for us. We usually see each other every day.
Our houses are close together. We're kind of neighbors, so we
live close. And so we're living in Nashville. Hello from Nashville, Tennessee. It's very sunny here.
Yeah.
It was sun. What did you do today?
I went for a long walk. Made some popsicles. I'm a little sick, so sorry about my voice. Yeah.
How do you
I got a popsicle mold for Christmas.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, look, you got a heart. That's so cool. Wow. What kind of popsicles?
Raspberry lime. So hopefully they're good.
Cool.
I kind of winged it in the recipe, but
I wish I could make ice cream. I've never done that before.
Oh, really?
But I hear it's like you use salt and like cream. It's like rock salt, right? Well, I did make ice cream in a Ziploc bag one time with students in Malaysia. It was very fun. You get a plastic bag and some milk. I think we had milk and cream, and you shake it all up.
Wow.
Okay, someone else says hello. Yes, yay. Okay, well, we're going to chat for just casually for a few minutes, and then we'll probably give folks some time to join in. So, you'll just have to hear us chat and laugh and banter.
So we're in Carlina's amazing room.
We're in my room.
Is decorated incredibly. She has amazing kind of letterpress and pictures everywhere. Just like a color explosion.
Yeah, I really like color, and I really like walls that are very full, which I'm starting to realize, like, I'm a little bit cluttered of a person, and I feel like you
could change that word to be like maximalist or like abundant,
maybe, yeah, that makes me feel a lot better. Language is great, but I really like very full walls. So I feel like every room that I've lived in since I moved out of Michigan, and actually since I've been in Michigan too, every room that I've lived in since I've moved away from my family has had like a very full, like just all four walls.
Do you like change the pictures, or do you have kind of the same?
Oh, my friend Molly's here. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Molly.
I change the pictures, but then I have like a set kind of collection that I keep. So
like a museum, had like a central collection.
Yeah. So like this photo it's out of the frame. Maybe I'll take it off my wall so people can see it. This photo is of my mom and dad in Hong Kong when they were like 25 or so, and so this is like a staple of like one of my little wall mosaics. And then some of these postcards of like people running to the beach and like cherry blossom tree. I guess they can't see it on the screen, but those are sort of some staples of mine. Yes, but your home you have stuff on your walls too.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. My bedroom, I kind of like a white bedroom with like one plant.
Yeah, and you also have, Sophie has these like frames that you keep on your walls that are empty, that kind of just frame the wall.
I had a dream one night.
I really promoted that really beautifully. It's very beautiful.
I had a dream one night of these like empty golden cream frames, and then the next day went thrifting and found some and painted them. So that's
really cool. Yeah, dream-induced action.
I like the kind of idea of an empty frame on a wall, kind of leaving some space.
Yeah, and reframing then like what's before you instead of just like a vast wall. It's kind of like me saying clutter and you being like maximalist.
Yeah. I love to reframe.
In a very metaphorical, cheesy way. Yeah, reframing is good. Yes, so we're in the new year. It's 2019. We'll probably start again in about 2 or 3 minutes for people who just joined.
We have matching planners this year.
We do. We have matching planners this year. I have mine in front of me. This is my planner for the year. Sophie introduced me to the Hobonichi planner. So if anyone's watching and
wants a planner, they're really great.
Planner. Yeah, they're really good. And before that, I used Moleskine Dailies, which I also really liked, but I felt like my planners would just fall apart by the end of the year. You've seen them because they would explode.
I love them.
Yeah. So I'm trying this one out. Yeah. We both got haircuts also recently.
We sound so matchy and I love it.
We sound really matchy.
We had got some short
it's a new year.
Hair chops.
Yeah. But maybe we can move into
I can't wait to read with you. And
I'm so excited.
Some new stuff.
Thank you to the Poets in Pajamas reading series.
Thank you so much
for having us. Thanks.
Such a cool event.
Anna and Erin. Yeah.
Happy to be here.
We're so happy to be here. Cool. Should we start?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
Give a few minutes. Start now.
Let's see. Yeah. Well, I guess I'll kind of maybe introduce you a little bit and talk about how much I love your work while people are joining. Carlina we're in the same M.F.A. program at Vanderbilt in Nashville, so we met here. And it's been such a pleasure to kind of be in the same classroom and kind of trade scribbled on poem notes for the past 2 years. Carlina is an amazing poem kind of annotator. It's like works of art. I want to frame all of them that I get back in workshop. And her poems are so kind of beautiful and abundant and full of kind of language that bends and twists and really kind of interesting and kind of unique and special ways. So I can't wait to read with her tonight.
Cool. Thank you. That was beautiful. And Sophie is I think probably one of like the biggest sources of light for me in Nashville and also just in my M.F.A. program at large. So like she said, we've met in the M.F.A. program here, had workshop together all last year, and Sophie's work basically reminds me why I love poetry. She last year she wrote for her thesis a series on Julian of Norwich, the first anchoress, right? The English language. And her poems, they're just, the way that you use language is just so incredible. And like, I think kind of provides space for me to think about broader questions beyond just the self and the world around me. She writes a lot about female friendships and mother and daughterhood, confinement and how to unconfine. And I really love your work so much. I feel like for Sophie, there are various images and lines of her work that just resonate with me and stick with me forever. And that really excites me about being a reader of yours. And and I hope I get to read your work forever. But so
likewise.
Here we are, and we're excited to share words with everyone who's watching tonight. So thanks for being here, for those of you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Hopefully you're in your pajamas too.
Yeah. Cool. So how we're gonna do this is each of us is gonna read a poem, and we'll actually alternate. So we'll read about like maybe 5 or so poems each, and then we'll take questions at the very end of both of our readings. So I guess we can go ahead and just dive in. Yeah, cool.
Do you want to go first, or?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. So I'll read a poem. This first one is called Lexical Gap. And so the term lexical gap is for a word that we should have or that we kind of could have. So a word that might exist in other languages, or a word that we have the opposite of, but that we don't actually have, like the word that exists here in English. So an example is that we have the word for a virgin, but not for the opposite of that. There's no noun for the opposite of that word. These are also called lacuna. And so just like this concept really interests me, I think, as a poet, thinking about kind of how to write into and around those gaps, especially I think for women and for girls. So I kind of think a lot about what words are we missing? What words do we need? And this poem is about kind of just one of those missing words. Okay. Lexical gap. Before I knew I had a body, did I have one? Not have. There's no verb for what I mean. No word for this consentless repetition. We never asked to be made like this. All clatter, all fragile. Ghost of the heart, dimming in and out like headlights of a car down a long, dark, curving road. Watching from a distance, we can see how every now and then everything illuminates. We can't know when or if it will ever come again, or how. This is my body, we say Sundays, but we don't own it. I had a body without knowing it once. I was a body small enough to sleep tucked in a plastic laundry basket. I don't mean have or was, no verb, no word, but here I am, meaning it.
I love that poem. Also, that's so true that there are so many words that just, that they're like, they don't exist, that are like lexical gaps in terms of like our framework and understanding for the world.
And I feel like poetry is kind of one of the ways that we can fill them in.
Like carve that
your poems do that so much.
Or like create a new language. I love that poem. Okay, so I'm gonna start with a poem. This is actually an older poem from my first book, which is called I Wore My Blackest Hair. It came out last year. And this is a poem that I wrote after I lived in Malaysia for about a year. And I felt kind of like, this was the only poem that I actually wrote that year. And I felt like kind of creating almost like a wall collage of the world that was happening to me at that time in my life. So this is called Years. Years. I drink coffee and learn it is a laxative. Toilet seats, ice cubes, songs that remind me of you, songs that don't. The rain is a silver tambourine over my head. In every class I teach, I begin with a proverb. Birds, pots of gold, no man is an island. I ask my Malaysian students to define glitter. They make a shaking motion with their hands. In Japan, I meet a white-haired woman who tells me her name means moon. But I'm crescent now, she says. Soon I will disappear. We wave to each other on the subway. The chairs are plastic and blue. I forget my watch, and the map winks with lines. Easy, the 1,000 ways I sit. Bound for Nasu, I watch a mother swipe her child on the cheek. In me, muscle, bone, my sister's nose, my father's tongue, the way he says prawn, the way I wash a well-oiled platter, the way I kiss another mouth, pears, pearls, I bite. Somebody pours water into the mug, perfect downfall. Wet, bluing squiggles. Forget subways, forget I called. When I ascend the stairs, I see a cat near a stray mango tree. I do not shy away. I say my own name. Plug my fist into the jar of honey, electrify, disappear, then come home again. Tomorrow, I'll eat, and the years will turn themselves over. Milk, spirals of rain, what we choose, worlds we kiss, everything we leave behind. Wrappers, shadows, a mammal howling beneath the streetlight, licking her own ancient skin.
Wow.
Yeah, that's that poem. Yeah, it's always funny to kind of revisit this poem. Yeah, and to just think about that year in passing. So, yeah.
Such a good intro to your work too, kind of thinking about like fruit and inheritance and
I do love
teeth
fruit.
And
biting. Lots of biting. Yeah.
It's a really good constellation poem.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
I'm gonna read one that I think is maybe kind of like one of my origin type poems too. This is called I Make Another Body for Myself When, and I think I wrote it kind of thinking about who we sort of see in family histories and American history, and who we kind of don't see or think kind of isn't there paying attention, kind of who we ask to listen and who we talk to. So yeah, this kind of comes from thinking about that. Oh yeah. I make another body for myself when my grandfather tells me about important men. He says the names and I forget. In the next room, the uncles, the priest, the cousins, portraits leaning off the walls. I am so tired of family. Who knows why we do the things we do? Why we are these animals in this room, keeping our teeth in our mouths to talk, to eat. We are gathered together and I'm wild-eyed, tossing my head to see who it is whenever somebody else walks into the room. My body needs to get me out. What harm will you do to me? If someone were to photograph the years of my life I spent young and listening, I would not be in the photograph at all.
Your back is listening to you from before. Yeah, I remember first reading that poem of yours actually in workshop too, and being like,
oh,
yeah, and being totally stunned in terms of, like, I feel like with your poems too, so much of the way that you write has revisited like a part of the way that I felt at a certain point or a moment in time. And it's sort of like we were talking about also like carving out new language. And I feel like the way that poems kind of carve us into new selves in terms of thinking about either past selves or current selves or future selves at different stages in our life in different ways. It's like, oh wow, like that just gave me language for something that I previously hadn't thought of or had like the heart or courage or whatever to think or say. And that poem did that for me. So
thank you.
Yeah, I love that poem. Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm going to read a poem about language. And this is a poem, if anyone's watching and is bilingual, I think this is a poem about sort of trying to juggle dual tongues. Okay. None on the rooftops. Chinese school, year 7, and Richard and Grant and Gloria and me all cheating on the midterm with the eraser. She writes one character on top, then passes it discreetly to me, and I pass to the others. Chain, shame. There are no Chinese gods on the rooftops, but if there were, they would not be shaped like dragons, nor carrying porcelain bowls of pears. I believe they would get a good laugh out of us with our sticky Dorito fingers and our inability to say their names. Oh, Chinese God, are you there? Are you smoking? Please hear me out. I'm stupid and young and I like your necklace. I'm asking how come when Emily called me a Twinkie, I could only imagine sweet cream smacked between my thighs, could only godlessly swallow. How come when Emily called me a Twinkie, you didn't say anything about the blessed stuff, like my nai-nai chasing a goose for me or how I learned to pickle cucumbers in a tin? Characters grew gummy wings in my throat and refused to flit. Oh, Chinese God, I have a fist. I wanted to be good at this. I wanted not to cheat, but to see you standing there in front of the blackboard, mouthing the proper characters for child, for forgive, for tame.
I love that poem so much.
Thank you.
I feel like we kind of each read childhood poems, which in a row, which is kind of cool. I think Carlina has a really amazing, I think, voice for kind of children in poetry. I feel like when you're a kid, you feel so much, and you have kind of so many poems that like could happen, but you kind of only read in school like Wordsworth, who I love, or like Keats, but you kind of there's not really someone who's like speaks to you as a kind of a kid in language that feels like it's part of your world. At least I didn't really feel that way. So I kind of love how you capture like the energy of kind of like kidhood and like kiddom.
Thank you.
Are those words?
You just made them words.
In this kind of adult, kind of like beautifully imagistic, like very like mature poetry that kind of calls back to the intensity of the experience of childhood. I think is really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. I love that poem.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this one that I'm going to read next is from a very kind of strange place in California where I'm from, where it's called the Salton Sea, if anyone's been there. Basically, they tried to make an inland ocean, like an inland ocean and kind of amusement park, in like I think like the 1920s, and it worked as well as that could have worked, which is not that well. So this kind of is about what happened next and what's still happening, and you can go there today. So Salton Sea. You'll come across a beach of bones, small, shaped like cups or petals. You'll need nerve. Every step becomes a mouth. The sound, the shape of it. These bones are not articulate. The fish are drowning underwater. They die with their mouths open. They die with their whole bodies breaking brittle on the shore. You'll walk slow because you won't know the word, which is rape, which you're not allowed to feel. Aware of your body at its hinges, knees, hips, elbows, collarbones. A hand spread there, the roots of the throat, open space where the world gets in. Careful with your steps and breath in this place beyond care. You won't touch any more of the landscape than you have to. An upholstered armchair, half submerged in water, breathes in and out with surrounding waves. What you think is a swan is a white pelican. This is California in winter, the end of the world. Once, someone you loved leaned her head back against you and said, "Okay." You shaved her head. The blue bathroom light swung a little, an earthquake or a train on the track. The falling hair, softer in the falling. You could hear it hit the floor. She said, "You're trembling, don't tremble." Everything's sinking. An ocean of memory sunk in America. Yacht club decades drowned. Force-fed fish storing fat in their tails. Farmland that can't be farmed without making rain. A reservation outside beauty or law. Water so toxic it burns. The fish are cracking underfoot. Remember, her cancer had no cause. There are things I'm not allowed to feel.
That poem makes me tear up. Like, I don't know if I told you this. I read that poem before we became like friends.
Really?
We talked about this? Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Because I read one of your first poems in workshop and I loved it, and I was like, I wonder if Sophie has more poems that I wanted to read them, but I was too shy and intimidated to ask you. So I Googled you and I found that poem, and I remember like crying after reading that poem. Yeah. Like, and I think I never heard of Salton, like I never heard of Salton Sea as like a space, like a place, I guess, before also encountering that poem. I don't even think I knew the backstory of it until just now too. And like, like, wow. Yeah.
They went there with a really cool kind of group called Signal Fire Arts that does kind of brings artists into the wild as kind of like their project. So they're really great kind of residency if anyone wants to kind of look them up and apply for fellowships to do they do kind of backpacking trips with artists of all kind of genres and disciplines and ages, and they're kind of very like really kind of great group. So kind of I went there with them and wrote that poem.
Yeah. Wow. Pedro says that last line. Yes, truly.
Thank you.
Thank you for reading that.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to read a newer poem next, and this poem is actually in conversation with, speaking of residencies, another really amazing residency that I did this summer that was based in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Aaron Smith is actually one of the organizers of that. So hi, Aaron, if you're still here and watching. But I did the Sundress Academy for Fine Arts, has these really amazing 1 or 2 week or however long farm residencies for writers. So if you're watching and if you're also interested in residencies, that's another really great one to be at. And Sophie did a residency there too, right?
Yeah, so cool.
So I basically lived in a farmhouse with another amazing writer. Well, I shared space with 2 other amazing writers for a week, and we took care of the animals and then kind of just wrote the entire time. So alas, while I was there, also our coop of chickens died overnight, which was very sad and very terrible. And so, someone says they'll be there in this month. Awesome, good luck. It'll be great. But I hope none of the chickens die while you're there, because that happened to me and it was terrifying.
This is a cautionary tale.
Yes, and so I wrote a poem about it. So this poem is called Coop. Coop. Morning, and dawn pushed itself orange, the spider by the sill immobile on its slim, fine thread. I walked out to the yard with seed in my pocket, a bucket of clean water strapped to my hip. At the gate, the first flare, no clucking, undid the bolts to silence. Then crickets in the wet grass built a song near my feet. Then a new herd of flies rumbled, made plump by quickening sun. In the coop, the chickens laid, quiet and red, bloated and runny, slaughtered in the night by some other thing with teeth, leaving me alone with 2 eggs, a liquid sloshing within the speckled cases, and the gods crossing their arms, snickering at me, a child then, who had never watched the dead so vividly, only tossed them seeds and watermelon rinds each dawn, fried their eggs with thick clumps of butter until the rest of the house rose with slow pleasure, already thinking of tending to dirt, plates on the table set, the house cat mewing, the wind slipping, and today, nothing to offer but steam. R.I.P. chickens.
Yeah.
It's actually very terrifying.
Yeah.
We woke up to feed them and they were all dead. But yes, I hope this doesn't happen to you if you do go to Sundress, and everyone should apply to Sundress because it's such an incredible organization. And yes.
Yeah.
So in honor of the chickens at Sundress.
Yeah. I love that you read a new poem too. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it is a new poem. I'm trying to write. I think this year I'm gonna try and write. I think February is gonna be a writing month for me, where I try and write a poem every day of the month. Also, because it's a shorter month. I love that you do that.
I've never kind of done that poem a day thing, but Carlina has it a few times.
Yeah, right? It's a cool grind.
Yeah.
It's cool. I feel like it's when I get the most of my work done, and it's just also cool to walk through the days and kind of think about them differently in terms of finding a seed for a poem or asking a question for a poem. So
I like that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. This next one is that I'm going to read is about the myth of Daphne and Apollo, which, so kind of Daphne was a water nymph, and Apollo, the god, was kind of chasing her, and she kind of begged her father to kind of stop what was happening, and he turned her into a tree so that she would be safe from kind of this man, and that kind of tension of that really interests me, because kind of no one really talks about kind of the absurdity, I think, of that, like someone who's powerful enough to turn someone into a tree, but not powerful enough to stop kind of a rape from happening, is really interesting to me. And that kind of myth too, people talk about as the way that kind of poetry kind of began. Kind of Apollo's songs about Daphne kind of longing for this tree are kind of, people talk about that as like the first poems. So I wrote this poem in response. I'm doing right now kind of a lot of sonnets that kind of like stop themselves or interrupt themselves or kind of like want to not be sonnets. And this is kind of one of those not sonnets. Daphne pursued by Apollo. A story told this many times becomes the forest. No beginning, no end, no longer a narrative, but the air we breathe. For centuries, a woman with a name rises from her sleep, becomes a tree, rains back down again into her rest. One myth for how poetry began, a man reaching violence. Myth, Apollo finds the tree inside a woman. Apollo translates fingers into leaves, hears a voice and calls it wind. I'm not interested in Apollo. I'm interested in the Father God who could not stop the rape, but could turn his daughter into a tree. What kind of power is that? How does it still river through our world? Why does nobody ask these questions? I carry more keys than I need. Walking home from the library late, I thread silver teeth through my fist. I'm not a tree and I'm asking.
Wow. That's so true too, in terms of like, why does nobody ask those questions, you know? And I also think something that I really love from this poem in particular is its ability to kind of say what I'm not interested in, like its ability to assert with teeth and say like, no, these are not the things that I want to look at if I'm like rereading the same old myth of Daphne and Apollo.
Yeah.
Like, these are the things that I'm actually wanting to write into or beyond the scope of what has been handed down to us as myth or what we've inherited to be true. Yeah.
You're kind of drawn just to like saying things in poems now, kind of like I want this and I don't want that, or
yeah, I think that's a good practice
like
for like life. Yeah, totally. To like be able to assert, and sometimes that's so hard in poems too. It's like to be able to actually say, and in life, but to be able to actually say what is the thing that you want or need. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna read. Shoot, that's someone's at the door. Do you mind getting that? It's actually,
sure.
I don't know what that is. Sorry about that brief interruption.
Do they
just tell them that we're doing a reading.
Okay.
And that. Yeah. Sorry, my landlord neighbor neighbor friend is here to drop off dumplings, and so she just knocked at our window to be like, hello. She's like my Chinese auntie, but I don't think she knew we had a reading today. So Sophie's gonna get the door and I'm gonna read another poem. So I am working on a series of poems right now about the modern encyclopedia for basketball. I am a huge basketball fan in terms of actually just admiring and loving the aesthetics of the game. And so this is a poem in which I'm trying to rethink the narrative of the space of a court and who's allowed on a court and kind of why. And this is a poem about my father, and also in doing that, thinking about reframing the narrative of kind of Chinese fathers as these sort of stoic and kind of almost unfeeling characters or caricatures in literature and in media. And this is a poem that I hope kind of, also tries to like redirect the myth in some ways. In the modern encyclopedia for basketball. Men make jump shots and leave blue ink on the pads of my fingers. There are years of sweet grass. There are years where I dance alone on a court made of asphalt, and Baba tells me to remember I'm great. The fish in the sea splash their teeny tails and cannot touch me. I'm unstoppable, clogs on my feet, my wingspan stretched out to the treetops. Remembering I descend from a man who once drove me through the entire car wash, soap suds lingering over the frame of the car, wiping away crusts of bird shit, dirt, the even hum of the engine as it propelled us forward, and even then, I love to watch a machine grow cleaner. I love to watch my Baba at the wheel, talking about zebrafish in dishes of cool water. Here I am now, darting between pages, photographs of men wearing capes that say champion, only I'm the champion now, rich with sweat, rich as a daughter can be, watching her father's mouth open into a small pearl as the Chinese opera disc spins. On the page, the ball falls into the hoop, and he begins, off key, to sing.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you. Thanks.
I love rich as a daughter can be.
Thank you. I do feel very like just lucky and rich as a daughter and person in the world, I guess. So thanks.
Yeah.
Clint's
dad is very cool. Yeah.
He's very cool. We really love him.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think was that your
that was my fourth poem.
Okay, great. So these are kind of our last poems now. Last one that I'm going to read, I actually wrote for one of my really good friends, one of my best friends, Julia. I I think that there aren't a lot of poems about kind of female friendship, really, which for me is like one of the best experiences of my life. And so I kind of want to write poems about that, yes. Even books about it. So that I would read this as kind of a closing poem for our kind of friends in pajamas, yes. Cozy reading with you all. Amen. So my friend Julia and I worked in the summers in a restaurant kind of in the Sierra Nevada in the woods, and we lived, really, restaurant is a strong word. It's like a cafeteria basically for kind of cabins nearby. And we lived in kind of little kind of like cabins next door and kind of slept outside. And this poem is about kind of those summers we kind of had together. The marriage bed for Julia. We dragged our beds out and pushed them together on the porch. That first summer we lived and worked in the woods and slept there under heavy blankets beneath the cedar trees in the cold, high Sierra nights, and laughing called it the marriage bed. Sometimes stumbling to bed, happy and drunk from the bonfires we lit by the river, the fires where you sang, "This is my body, take and destroy it, if you please," while we were learning something different. And because we walked home through the meadow, there were seeds in the seams of our jeans, which we shimmied out of to sleep, too tired to take off our shirts and bras. And when we woke, our bare legs were cold. And sometimes I'd find your hair in my hair, which was long then. Our jeans and alphabet on the floorboards, dirty tangled language of the days where we were learning how to be real and hungry, how to eat the nights. We'd sneak into the restaurant where we waited tables and raid the walk-in fridge, shaking cinnamon sugar over sourdough toast, shining with butter, burnt crust brittle, smoky from the broken toaster. Somehow that bite between my back teeth, always exact and what I wanted. We ate on the line, barefoot, sitting on the counter swinging our legs, holding tomatoes like apples up to our mouths, taking big cartoon bites. Quiver silk of seeds slicking down our wrists, all held yellow in liquid space. Next, the avocados I ate with so much flake salt, you said I'd die overnight from thirst. And so I drank long draughts of cold creek water from a jar. And listen, there was always dirt in it, and I didn't care. There was also mint. And that whole summer, I never felt thirsty. We were always standing on hot rocks, high over the American River, and holding hands, and saying, okay, and jumping into muscled water. And sometimes we stood so still in the riverbed that fish swam iridescent into us, tracing our ankles silver. That summer we learned to walk in the dark without a light. Our muscles were quick and strong and female, and always slightly flexed, and we slept in the marriage bed, where a part of me still is always resting. And years after, you wrote to me, you were the first woman I had ever wanted to be. And with that bed, we made an enormous space for each other into which we will always be rising. Yours, the only other body I know as well as my mother's. The bodies of the women that make me ready for my life.
I love that poem.
I love you.
I love you. And I'm so glad that that poem exists, because it's so true in terms of like, also, you know, I feel like I haven't really read that many poems that are about female friendships and that celebrate female friendships, and that is such a huge presence in my life. Like that, like female friendships make me light up. And I'm so glad that you wrote that poem. Yeah, I love that poem. Okay, I'm gonna end with a poem about food and love. And this poem kind of references some food in Malaysia. And so just to give you all some kind of brief context, nasi kerabu was my favorite dish in Malaysia, and is a sort of rice-based dish that has this meat that is kind of colored. It's dyed by what's that plant that's like a butterfly vine or butterfly pea? So the meat is kind of like stained blue.
Okay,
yeah. And satay is just like chicken on a stick. So this poem is called, and this is newer, but this poem is called Rainbow Chard in Brooklyn. Green onions on a stalk that we chop for the bread. Little lanky greens set on top of dough. Ben cuts chard with a tall knife. His hands lean, they know what they're doing. I watch him from the sofa where the chai lights play on the record player, and I remember what it felt like to once hold a harmonica. Music class, rain sticks, the sound of rice grains going feral in the pot. Pop, 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 pop. I fall in love every day, extending my wrist, kitchen flick, the chard falling in thick, even slices on the board. He takes a lemon into the squeezer and presses down, glossing the leaves with liquid. When I lived in Malaysia, I tell him what I ate. Nasi kerabu, satay, squares of chicken in sweet sauce, fish cooked, then mashed and wrapped inside fragrant leaves. Ben cooks in a soft apron. I sit on the couch and make words tumble out my mouth. Broth, balm, bray, remembering the banana trees in my Malaysian backyard, the spiders that would leap out of them. Sitting in the Brooklyn apartment, the smell of chard simmering on the stove, I watch his back as he tends to his leaves. A new world with a new table, a new love who cooks. I bray my neck. I prepare myself to go at it. I eat, I chew, I swallow, I do not forget. So,
I love that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. And thanks to you all for listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how that last kind of line, I do not forget, kind of seems so tied into like eating and swallowing kind of recipes.
Yeah.
Like how food is kind of a way that memory works.
Totally. Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, and in terms of even like memory that is inherited and passed down to us too, like recipes, family recipes, you know, or even like foods that family or friends have eaten and then give on or pass on to you. Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of recipes, the person who knocked at the door when we had that brief interlude interruption is, like I said earlier, my Chinese auntie who lives in Nashville, who's also my landlord, and brought us some dumplings, which was very kind. So yeah. Okay, so I think we're gonna transition into the Q&A portion of this reading. So if you have questions, what I think you can do is like just type them somehow into your comments box. Oh wow.
Oh, we missed all of these.
Oh, we missed all of these. Cool. Okay, great. Wow. Cool.
Oh, shoot.
People are commenting. Yeah, sorry we missed your comments, but we love them. And so we're ready for questions. So if you do have any questions for us, and they can be about anything like our writing process or our friendship or poems, whatever you want, feel free to type them into the comments box and we will respond. Now we're like kind of reading all these things that we missed. Wow, thanks everyone for your feedback. I'm
just kind of chat.
Yeah,
I was thinking about that last poem. So we've been watching Queer Eye together this year, which we've been loving. We just kind of watch it and hold hands and cry. Yeah. But Carlina's been watching a lot of kind of like food narrative TV shows too.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I have, and it's factored into my writing.
I've kind of noticed that. I was just thinking about.
Yeah, I've been writing a lot of food poems recently. Yeah. Oh, and we have a question. I mean, maybe I'll finish just briefly talking about this. I've been writing a lot of food poems recently, and actually this question might relate to that. Akua, apologies if I mispronounce your name, just asked, do you have a writing routine? And I think my routine has been changing a lot recently, and I think a part of that also has to do with the fact that I have felt a little bit stagnant in terms of like producing work, and so I'm trying to like find new ways to enter poetry, and one of those ways has been through TV, funnily enough. So I have been watching Ben, my partner, just like really got me into a couple different TV shows recently, including the late Anthony Bourdain's cooking shows, and then also David Chain's Ugly Delicious was something that we watched a lot, where he kind of taps into different categories of food and then explores the sort of cultural and social nuances behind them. And I think in sort of watching the way that food can be constructed or be made, I guess, visually in terms of like a TV show, I've been trying to think about how to incorporate that within new poems. And so especially because I think that food is just, again, it's so political, and there's so much history and so much kind of social community that's wrapped up behind eating. And also the process of creating food is really kind of akin to me in terms of the process of creating anything, including a poem, right? Because it's like preparation, chopping vegetables, hard work, language, mixing, thinking about ideas. And as a bilingual Chinese American, I'm really interested in the ways that that Chinese food has kind of landed in the United States and then shifted in terms of the way that diaspora has worked across history. And so in terms of my writing routine with TV and poems, I actually think that it's been really helpful for me to take a break a little bit from the strict regimen of like, I have to create, this poem by this time today. And instead I've just been giving myself time to nourish and relax by watching like a show. And then actually when I watched David Chain's Ugly Delicious, I found myself like writing down in like my little note section of my phone the different kind of keywords that he was using that were really interesting to me to like describe food. And so even like something like a word like texture, which I think is so much a part of the process of creating food and the process of eating and digesting food, was something that I've been thinking about in terms of how to replicate inside my own poems. And so in terms of routine, just kind of like watching shows, reflecting on them, thinking about them, and incorporating that as a part of my research process right now, and then being able to kind of sit down and write. But I think in terms of the actual writing, I write a lot late at night, which I think I do because, it's like a whole day has passed and I've had time to like digest and think through things, and then sit down and write. And a lot of times I create dumpster docs on my computer where it's like I'll be writing and there will be different scraps of ideas that will suddenly jump out to me. And so I'll copy and paste them into a separate doc. And the actual poem itself is always, evolving. And there will usually be like one dumpster doc of like all the scraps and lines and images that didn't make it into the actual poem, but were very much a part of the process of actually creating it. And I do use like Google Images a lot too, in terms of like thinking about, like even when I was thinking about, like how to describe like a chicken in my coop poem, I was Googling, I wasn't Googling like images of slain roosters, but I was Googling kind of like chicken and like coop and like, that stuff, and like looking at images of them to think about how to replicate that within the work itself. So very long-winded answer, but what's your writing process? Or writing routine?
My writing routine is, I tend to kind of like to write in the mornings, kind of early, like kind of first thing. I can just make some tea and kind of sit down usually, which kind of now, like I'm lucky enough that kind of this is like what I'm doing right now with most of my time, which is so kind of lucky and rare and will be over soon. But I think that we're also both kind of real like notebook keepers. And so I kind of too like to kind of like paste kind of things from my day and kind of like just kind of scrawl and keep kind of a journal and kind of see how those kind of little like objects and miscellanea from my day kind of come back into poems. I think that I also like really like to, like the more that I'm reading, the more that I'm writing. So I kind of try and kind of read really intentionally for a while every day and kind of see how that like makes kind of mental space and kind of more kind of fodder.
Totally.
Oh, and there's more questions.
Yeah, there's more. I just scrolled down.
Yeah, but thanks for that's a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Arlen asks, what are projects you are currently working on? Also, how do you practice self-care when writing about hard topics and or complex relationships?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
You can go.
So I think so in terms of projects, I'm kind of actually working on a lot of kind of like nonfiction now, kind of about kind of essays.
I made that clap because I'm so excited about this. Yes.
Yeah. So kind of so different kind of essays, and also kind of like thinking about like kind of like some kind of like longer sequence poems But I think so your kind of second question about kind of practicing self-care when writing about hard topics, I think that a lot of my students that at Vanderbilt asked me about this too, and I think one thing that I kind of really have like has been good for me is kind of changing my idea of what writing is from kind of sitting at like a really big mahogany probably desk with like really good posture and kind of like typing nonstop. And so I kind of tend to be where I'm comfortable, which often is like kind of with blankets or kind of like my heating pad or kind of candles on my couch or in my bed sometimes, and kind of just make sure that I kind of like feel kind of comfortable and safe when I'm kind of writing about hard topics. I even once, this is probably weird to confess, but I wrote one kind of essay that you read about something that was kind of hard to write about, actually in my bathtub. Kind of like with I like put pillows and blankets in there because I think it just felt very like confined and like safe, and so I kind of just felt I kind of wasn't thinking about my surroundings,
right?
Which kind of freed me to kind of like really kind of dig into the language. That's probably a weird, but you could try it. I think that's kind of not kind of like conforming yourself to what you think writing has to look like, and kind of finding what makes you feel kind of supported and good and safe. Is really powerful.
Totally. Yeah, and that totally would change. I haven't tried that before, and I might, because I think that would totally change the way in which also like your mind kind of unconsciously is like asking or training you to write. Also is like if I were to write in my bathtub, I think that would actually unleash like so many more potential poems that might not be there if I was sitting at my not mahogany desk. But I think I think that's such a great question. I also think that for me, something else that I find really helpful is particularly in when writing poems about difficult subjects, is that Sophie talked about journaling earlier, and like she said, we both keep journals, and something that I find myself doing is going to my journal and using my journal as a space of just like uninterrupted sort of like thinking and uninterrupted even like writing. And so if I'm writing about something particularly that's really hard, instead of actually trying to force it into the constraints of a poem or think about being poetic with it at all, usually what I'll first do is I'll just scribble out and it's usually like just a lot of like emotional kind of writing within my own journal. And that's a space for me where just nobody else sees that. And I don't feel pressure to kind of like give that up to anyone else. And so a lot of times it'll even be like block letters, where it'll just be like anxiety or something like that. And I find that having just another space or this is similar to what you said, but another, I guess, writing space for the content is really helpful and frees me up from then kind of creating the actual poem. And something else that I think I do is also just turn towards community in that time. And like we've had a lot of conversations about writing about difficult subjects and fruitful conversation, just people that you trust and love. And that's that's maybe a simple, straightforward answer, but that's what's helped me. So thanks for that question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Pedro says, what books do you look to for inspiration? Yes.
Yeah.
Books.
What a great question.
I love Arcelis Girmay, which you know, but she's a poet. She has currently, I believe, 3 books of poetry and 1 children's book, which I actually think could be read for anyone, like of all ages.
Yeah.
But she has 3 books of poetry, Teeth, Kingdom, Animalia, and her latest one is called The Black Maria. And she's just like one of my favorite poets of all time. I think that Arcelis Girmay has a really generous and empathetic way with which she writes about just like, I guess, community and nature and sort of the human world at large and our roles as humans to participate within both like the political and like the natural world. And her book, The Black Maria, which is her latest one, she has a series of, I believe they're either self-portrait or portrait poems, where she kind of talks about describing, the subject from the point of view of like a tiny creature, like an insect or a stone.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think her books in particular, I totally love. I'm reading a lot of Lucille Clifton right now also, in terms of thinking about like pared down, kind of simplistic yet really, really profound poems. And she has a really beautiful poem about menstruation, which I really, really love. I read that on the train recently and I was like, oh, this is so good. So those are just two to start with.
Yeah.
Two authors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, for books.
I think some books of poetry that I kind of always go back to are Marie Howe's What the Living Do, Audrey Rich's Dream of a Common Language, Tiana Clark's new book that came out. Oh my gosh, what the title? I Talk About the Trees Without the Blood is so good. So kind of I like books that kind of make you leave them wanting to write more.
Yeah.
I loved Alicia Mountain's High Ground Coward. That was incredible. I also read a lot of like nonfiction and kind of visual art books, which can be kind of surprisingly fruitful for kind of inspiration. So there's a great book. The filmmaker Derek Jarman had a really incredible gardening practice in a garden.
Cool.
And he has a book. There's a book called Derek Jarman's Garden that I love.
Yeah, cool.
And then some artists who are at the Black Mountain School, Joseph and Ani Albers, their kind of books about, like Ani Albers' book on weaving, I read a lot, and just kind of think about.
I've seen that, I think, in your home. Yeah.
And so I kind of think that sort of things that aren't poetry can often really spark poetry.
Yeah, totally. And in that vein, one of the novels that I've been reading, I guess that I read in the recent past that I was talking to you about that I love is called Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. And I think that narrative in particular it's so good. It's a novel about Korean immigrants in Japan. And so it's this like intergenerational novel that kind of spins and unfurls and is so powerful and so good. And I would also plug or add Nate Marshall's poetry. Nate Marshall's a mentor of mine, and his work I think is really different from mine, but he writes about community and place in really, really exceptional ways. And Sophia Hilo, who writes about diaspora and language, and is a great poet that I really admire. So yeah, thanks for that question. Okay, what's the next one?
I think comments.
Oh, comments. Cool. We're reading your comments now. Awesome. Glad that people are thinking about journaling.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, cool. Almost about to wrap up. It's 7.
Oh yeah, it's almost 7.
I just noticed.
Yeah. Well, we can take like another question or so.
Thank you all for these. I love kind of reading about your practices too. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a great community of writers.
Totally. Gratitude blogging. That's a really, really. You keep a gratitude journal, right, Sophie? Someone in the comments is talking about gratitude. Cool. Yeah, and I'm gonna try and keep a gratitude journal this year. Actually, I just started it. Like about a week ago. Nice. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, if anyone does have any last questions, we're more than happy to answer them in the remaining time that we have. But we're also really grateful to you all for just your thoughts and your feedback and for listening and sharing and writing and people will give it like a minute or two to see if anyone has anything that they want to ask. But I'm trying to think if I have any like last lingering questions for you about. I guess something that I am wondering, so Sophie's a really incredible teacher, and I know you're teaching this upcoming semester, and I'm wondering how teaching, kind of like if teaching at all manifests within your own like writing process or the way that you've come to think about writing, if that's been transformed or changed or complicated for you at all via like teaching poetry to younger poets and younger writers.
Yeah. I think I think that a lot of thinking about kind of like care and how much I kind of want my students to kind of feel kind of like cared for and like not kind of forced into kind of boxes. I kind of view my job as kind of like giving them kind of permission and kind of freedom. And so I kind of then try to kind of turn that back on myself when I'm kind of writing. And so kind of that is helpful to kind of cultivate a space 3 times a week when we have class that is very kind of welcoming, and kind of see that, kind of feel myself doing that for other people, and then kind of do that in turn, kind of at my own writing desk. And I think too, I love kind of the enthusiasm that students kind of bring to kind of their work and their friends' work. And it just makes writing kind of seem so fun.
Totally.
So yeah.
And I love like how like earnest and curious students are. I think it allows me to then ask more questions of myself and of writing in general. And like I feel like students are like, they remind me that writing is so much about not just being a writer, but rather like being a citizen of the world. You know, it's like you can never just like, it'd be so boring if we just, and maybe it wouldn't, but I feel like I would get bored of writing poems about writing all the time. It's like, no, to be a writer, I hope that someday I could be a firefighter, like a gardener, or just like be active and ruminating and thinking about the world. And I feel like that's really cool to watch what interests students bring to their own writing within the scope of poems. So cool. Well, I think we are pretty much gonna wrap up. So thank you all again for tuning in and for
hanging out with us, spending time. Thank you.
Yeah, we hope you have really beautiful, nourishing evenings and get into some comfy pajamas.
Yes, and have some good food. Get into your bathtubs.
Right in your bathtubs. And thank you again to Anna and to Poets in Pajamas for having us. This has been really, really fun.
Thank you so much.
And thanks to you for
thank you.
This is our first like reading together. So and hopefully someday we'll have more. But it's been so fun. So thanks again. Okay, so
thank you all.
I think sign off now.
Good night.
Thank you all. Yes, good night. Okay. How do I end this? Oh, end my video. Happy New Year. Bye. Thanks.